We as Jews or we as humans, we always are sometimes put to a challenge or to a test. And unfortunately, more than enough, we failed at those tests and at those challenges, either as individuals, as communities, as group, as nations, or as a humanity in general. So this week's parasha, I would like to share with you, it's some thoughts from Rabbi Goldschmidt that he shared with me, that I thought it would be important to bring it to your attention, as it's something that I may have spoken about in the past. So this week's parasha brings into confrontation with an act that will reverberate throughout history and has reverberated throughout our history as one of the darkest moments of our ancestors in the desert, only less than how shall I say, 2-3 months from having left Egypt, watching the wonders and miracles in Egypt themselves, and then in the splitting of the Red Sea and in the desert itself. And that moment is what's known in biblical and rabbinic literature as the golden calf debacle, the golden calf apostasy. At the moment in which Moshe, our leader, was up in Mount Sinai communicating face to face with the Almighty to bring down the tablets of the law, our ancestors were waiting and waiting after 40 days and realizing, or at least getting confused as to the time that Moses had to come down. And therefore, they decided, these newly freed Israelites, in their momentary confusion, to perform the ultimate Torah prohibition, which is worshiping of an idol. Now, with this narrative, there are two, if not more, points to consider. First, that really humankind excels at not living up to its expectations. It is precisely at the pinnacle of humanity that we manage to let ourselves down. As we have seen throughout history, I will not bore you with bringing examples of historical proportions of where humanity made mistakes, and those mistakes are not corrigible anymore because those were historical mistakes, many of them tragic. But if we just look at this past century, beginning with World War I and World War II, where if humanity, or at least the countries that are responsible and are leaders in the world, would have stepped up to prevent either World War II or the slaughter of millions of people, including 6 million Jews. And we know that an estimated over 70 to 85, and some accounts to 100 million people perished during World War II and slightly after that. That's more than 3% of the 1940 world population. And we have seen many other examples in the past 60 years where if the world would have stepped in and done something, they would have prevented a later on tragedy. As I said, I will not bring more examples, but basically we are forced to ask the question of how it is that as society progressed and modernized and became very advanced to such level, yet the results are always so catastrophic. As our potential increases, it is simultaneously a double-edged sword, because our potential for good cannot be without equal potential for atrocity. God gave us free will to decide between good or bad. In this case of the parasha, with the Israelites, as they moved from the experience of communication with the divine, with God, he revealed himself at the Mount Sinai, and they all heard him, and they all saw the wonders that occurred there. Less than 40 days later, they fell exactly to the opposite, and that is belief in idols. Now, idols are the symbol of man-made religion. We fashion our own idols, our own beliefs, our own customs, practices, and we create mythologies as we see fit, and those mythologies basically believe what we do because we created them. They care about the things that we care about because we invented them, and ultimately permit the desires of our heart because that's what we did. The famous story of Abraham, when his father Nahor gave him when his father Terah let him watch his idol store, and then when the father Terah came back, he saw one idol standing with a stick and all the other ones destroyed. And he asked his son Abraham what happened. Abraham, in a very sarcastic way, told his own father, well, they started fighting amongst themselves and they were jealous of each other, and just a big idol basically destroyed all of them. And his father said, what are you crazy? Are you kidding me? I mean, these are idols. They don't move. They don't, they cannot, they have no feelings. They have no thoughts. So what are you trying to say? So the son Abraham told him, well, father, I hope you're hearing your own words. Why would you worship something that you fashioned with your own hands, things that don't have feelings, don't have thoughts, can't do anything, just a piece of stone or a piece of wood? And so that's basically, we fashion our own idols and the image that we want them to be, and they have the thoughts that we have and the desires that we have. So what was the desire or the thought during the golden calf? What was the argument that there? So of course, some of our sages say, well, they really wanted a representation of God, which was their leader Moshe, and since Moshe wasn't there, they needed something physical. That might be a nice way of putting it. The other way is because we saw what happened. There is a desire of immorality. There is a desire of being our own masters, in a sense that even we want to be the masters of our own gods, so that God can let us do whatever we want, and that God can let us fashion whatever we like, because after all, that God is the fashion of our own hand. We did it. So we are kind of all guilty of making our own unique idols of religion and philosophy. And we don't have to be religious or member of a religion. We could be really atheist, but we fashion our own atheistic God, so to speak. And all of that is to justify our own perspectives and beliefs. We are able to read any narrative we prefer into ancient text. We can implant our interpretation. As humans seldom find a lack of evidence from our cause, but whatever we read, we interpret it do. Even the famous fake news of our generation, where every news is really spinned according to the desire of whoever is giving those news, whoever is narrating those news. So as Jews, we are not able to free ourselves from what has transpired in the past. It has done, but we arrive at our Jewish identity with the weight of our collective identity. We live in the shadow of the golden calf until this very day, and despite the very evident fact that humans have historically failed almost at every opportunity to collectively seek good and achieve greatness, but we cannot allow ourselves the luxury of a lack of faith in humanity. Our entire ethos is rooted in the belief that mankind can indeed be great, and that we can, as a society, reach an idyllic, peaceful, and moral civilization. We can reach the days that we were foretold by our prophets, of days of peace, tranquility, coexistence, acceptance, not tolerance, but acceptance. And hopefully we are able to step up to the plate, the proverbial stepping up to the plate, to do what we need to do to save humanity from its own hands. So let us hope that those days will come speedily in our time. Amen. Shabbat Shalom.